Welcome back, everybody. We've got a couple things that we wanted to talk about, and there's been articles and all kinds of chatter about a bunch of different things here lately, but most notably for us was something that involved one of our own, and it was a suspect who was involved in a 2018 shootout with APD officers that was given a deferred adjudication sentence, which basically is we pleads guilty. If you do your probation, then it falls off their record is basically how that one works out. It avoids having a guilty conviction on their criminal history. And, you can go back, and KXAN were the ones that originally started reporting on all of this. And, you can read back through even their initial article. This was not some, I don't know, it's never a minor deal when you shoot at the cops, but in particular, even more egregious, right? Don't get me wrong. Cops don't like being shot at. We're not fans of that. But even worse was we're talking about a guy that his mom was the one who officers made contact with, and he had pointed a gun at her. He had her down on her knees, pointed a gun at her, and after he had assaulted her. And then he took off. Officers locate the vehicle, get into a pursuit. They wind up stopping him by using what's called a pit maneuver, a precision immobilization technique. And then as soon as he exits the car, he starts shooting at officers, and officers return fire. Even after they shoot back, he tries to run off, but he's injured, and so officers are able to detain him. They find a handgun on him, 2 magazines, wind up arresting him, charging him with attempted murder, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. And then here we are, and this happened in 2018. Here we are 5 years later, and it's pled out to a deferred adjudication sentence where he's now walking free. And I feel like a broken record, but it blows my mind that someone can be engaged in such violent crime and then our DA decide, you know what, I think it's fine. You can go walk the streets. Originally, he had to have a GPS monitor. Now he doesn't even have that. So
this is Craig Anthony Carter, 27-year-old man. And what else has he been in trouble for?
I don't know, Juice. What else has he been in trouble for?
I don't know.
I know. I'm sure he actually has been in trouble for things previously. So
I mean, you don't just go to shooting at cops and pointing guns at your mother, do you?
Some people might.
Okay.
Like some people do, which to me would be even more alarming. It's one thing to have someone who, we pull them over and you find, a dime baggie of meth, say. Right? It's one thing to be like, okay, this is your first time offense. You had drug possession. It wasn't anything violent. Right? Poor decision making, but first time drug offense. Do you need to lock them in jail forever on that one? No, probably not. Right? There's reasonable to do that. But someone who's willing to assault their mom, put her down on her knees, point a gun at her, run from cops, shoot at cops, that seems like someone we should take seriously.
You shouldn't put them back in the community, is what you're saying?
I would think not.
Okay.
That would seem like it would lead to more problems. But yet RDA seems to be like, nope, that's fine. We're okay with that. Oh, and I mean, it's just sad because we see example after example. We'll probably talk about another one here before long. That was another homicide one where the guy has a history. He's got a history, ran from cops, had guns, illegal possession of guns, all these other kind of things. And then guess what? He kills someone. Like, at some point, maybe we should learn the lesson that violent crime should be taken seriously, right? I saw a video not that long ago about the DA talking about I don't remember if he exactly used the word restorative justice or whatever it is, but it's an alternative form of public safety that he believes in.
Sure. And he thinks it's working.
He does. And, in reality, like I said, on low-level stuff, is that probably okay? Yeah, it probably is. Like we're not opposed to giving people second chances, but we are opposed to giving violent criminals essentially a free pass. Like you do all of this, you don't even get a guilty conviction for it's not like you just had a gun. You pulled the trigger. You were willing to do it at your own family member, and then you did do it at cops. That's a serious offense that if you don't enforce those things, it sends a clear message that public safety, actually keeping individuals safe, preventing crime, not really a priority. There's got to be a balance between the violent crime being prosecuted and being prosecuted vigorously, and low-level stuff being treated as, hey, maybe these are appropriate second chances. There's got to be a middle ground here. We're on too far of an extreme, and we got to find our way back to the middle here.
I'm on a sarcasm kick today. So
Uh-oh.
do you mean to tell me that in the grand scheme of things, telling this guy to surrender his gun because that's his punishment is not good enough?
You know, ironically enough,
What if he promises not to own another gun?
you know, it seems to me like we had someone not that long ago that we told them they had to do that, and they kind of ignored it and got another gun and then shot at somebody else, or tried to. It was actually, oddly enough, when they tried to shoot at a cop again. They were already not supposed to have a gun.
Gotcha.
It's one of our latest officer-involved shootings. So, I don't know. There seems to be this proof that this method doesn't work, and it only results in people getting hurt. But, you know, we're just cops. What do we know?
Yeah.
So,
Not lawyers.
no, no, we're not. Not all of us.
Yeah.
Some of us are. Oddly enough, there are members of the Austin Police Department that are indeed attorneys.
That is true. We
Yeah.
have a few.
We have doctors. We have very qualified individuals as officers here. So, the other topic that's come up a lot lately is the traffic fatalities that we've had here in Austin, and kind of this trend that we've had about the fatalities being high. The rates were a little bit ahead of where we were last year, kind of right smack dab in the middle of where our 5-year trend has been. And I figured it was kind of worthwhile noting a couple of things. And one of the things that we have is a report by the city auditor, no less, that was done back in November of 2023 that was talking about the effects of traffic patrol on road safety. And I found it interesting. We talked about this, not long after this came out, but that's been a year and a half ago. But it's crazy to me, in the second paragraph of this audit report, it shows, in Austin, quoting, in Austin and 3 peer cities, we saw lower police capacity and increases in traffic deaths. Seems like there's a direct correlation, and a graph later on that shows when traffic citations, when staffing goes down, when enforcement goes down, fatalities go up. Now, the serious injuries kind of flatlined were the same. They were looking from 2018 to 2022. So serious injury crashes remained about the same, but fatalities went up. I think it was the citations went down by about 55%, and then the deaths went up by 63% over that period that they were looking at. And also in the very opening part of this, it talks about, during this time, Austin had more police capacity and visibility because DPS was here. It was in early 2023, the Department of Public Safety was deployed in Austin for a short time. And during that time, Austin had more police capacity and visibility. And they noted fewer crashes and deaths as compared to after the deployment ended. So clear correlation, more officers, more visibility, more staffing, fewer deaths.
Right. There's a correlation there.
Indeed, there is. And
kudos to the city auditor's office for publishing a report that uses facts and statistics, because it does show that police can prevent bad things from happening.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done that in the past. And I think this goes to show exactly kind of the historical context around our funding issues here at the police department. Is back, in 2020, we had a lot of officers leave the department, and so we had to make staffing decisions. And one of those staffing decisions is that we used to have 84 positions in our highway enforcement unit. And in this unit, we had the commercial vehicle enforcement unit, the driving while intoxicated unit, and our motors unit. All 3 of which had different important jobs. Motors would write tickets for people, aggressively driving on highways, speeding, that kind of thing. DWI unit obviously would deal with drunk drivers, a huge problem at night in a city full of entertainment venues. And commercial vehicle enforcement made sure that all those big trucks coming through town with hazardous materials and rocks and everything that you see now tying up our freeways because they're involved in collisions were actually inspected and safer for our community. And we went from 84 positions in this division to 8. Mm-hmm. And those 8 people are just left there, and they just kind of maintain things like programs like our intoxilizer program for officers that might need to use an intoxilizer later. But cutting an entire unit dedicated to making sure people are safe. And I think getting behind a vehicle is one of those things where it's the most dangerous thing you can do all day long. Mm-hmm. So super important.
Yeah, and one of the other graphs that's in this report and their conclusions is talking about the vacancy rate within APD. And it goes, obviously, like I said, this goes back to 2018, where we were at around 11%. And then in 2023, leading towards August of 23, is when we were at over 31% vacancy rate. And that's the period that they're looking at where they can say, like, officer staffing is down, enforcement is down, fatalities are up. And a big part of all of this was we had defunding, we had cuts to the police department, we had changes to our staffing, cuts to units, and we had a lot of officers leaving, obviously. And now, we're entering another season of budget talks. We were out of contract for a large chunk of this time period as well, or went out of contract, right before the downturn happened, and then another chunk of time in here. And so we're now back under contract. Last year was the first year where we kind of saw, hey, we didn't have a mass exodus of officers. Like, as we ended the year being under contract, we actually had people that were staying here. And so we were able to start building our numbers back, where we had a net gain of 3 last year, first year since 2018. We'll take the win. You got to start somewhere. I'm hoping that we had hit the bottom, of the curve
and climbing the hill again.
Exactly, and hopefully we're coming up the other side. But now we're starting to hear conversations, even though our contract is less than a year in. All right, it went into effect in end of October of last year. We're less than a year into the contract. And we're already starting to hear some chirps from certain council members about if the need to do a tax rate election, and if it fails, this could impact, we may not be able to pay everything for the contract, or we don't have to. And I would caution them and anybody involved in this. We've seen what happens if you go down that path. And there's a study done by the city that shows the impact of staffing, and we can look back, and history tells us, and this is recent history, we can look back in recent history over the last 7 years and see that all of these actions have consequences.
And this is just one small piece of the public safety pie. This just shows what happens when it involves vehicles in the streets and traffic.
So. Yeah, because what also happened in this same time period is it was around 2020, 2021 that our homicide rate doubled.
Right.
And so, there's other trends out there, too, that we have seen. So all of this correlates.
And it was also the same time, as I recall, that we couldn't respond to all the calls that we used to respond. So we limited our response. So you would expect for a police officer to come to your house, and they're no longer coming to your house because we had to prioritize what calls we're sending so few officers to.
And, when we're looking at the budget, the department was already told you have to give back $7 million that was previously given to us this current fiscal year. And then next year, they're looking at reducing the overtime budget as a result of a lot of staffing changes that have happened yet again within the department by another $9 million. So we're already cutting APD's budget by $13 million here, or rather $16 million. I can add. I'm sorry.
You're a police officer.
I know.
We get it.
I'm not a mathematician, but I can do basic math for the most part. The department's already giving back $16 million. And some people are already talking about wanting to cut other things. At its core, the core function of city government is to provide for public safety, police, fire, EMS. People have to be safe in their city in order for you to promote economic development, in order to get businesses to want to come here and stay here, to get people to want to live here, and people to visit. If people don't feel safe, they're not going to come. And so no matter what happens, whether they propose a tax rate election, they don't. It passes, it doesn't. Public safety has to be funded, and any cuts to that, any scale backs from commitments being made is going to put our city in jeopardy. They've got to prioritize public safety funding first and foremost. Everything else is secondary to that.
Do you think that the city is using public safety as a way to promote fear and get people to vote on the tax rate election? Is that what you're suggesting here?
I mean, I haven't seen anybody say that directly. I've certainly seen people in the past use that technique, use that tactic. I haven't seen anybody doing that right now. There's these murmurs from certain people, but I haven't seen anybody make that direct correlation. I would certainly caution anybody against that one, because trying to use that to get people to vote for something as a fear of like, oh, you're not going to have this or whatever, I don't think is appropriate, because public safety is a core function. You have to fund that no matter what. No matter what happens with the tax rate election, whether you do it, like I said, you do it, you don't, it passes, it doesn't, whatever. You still have to fund the core services. And that's what all the first responders are doing.
Just my tinfoil hat conspiracy theories going here. Like, I think it's
fair.
more effective for somebody to say, oh, vote for this, or you're not going to get a police or a firefighter when you need them, as opposed to, hey, vote for this, or we're not going to pay for this person to paint a mural in the library parking garage. Like, I just think that the voters might take a little bit better recognition to one of those over the other. So,
yeah. You know, the overall message on this one really is just that there are studies by the city, studies by other people that show that staffing is important. We have high vacancy rates still within the department. The department has reorganized itself time and time again to try to cut funds where it can because of directives that are given. And we're still seeing issues when it comes to like trying to respond to certain things. We're still not responding to everything that we were. Fatalities, you know, we see trends where they are increasing. We see all these things. The warning signs are there. And I think it should be pretty obvious, should be pretty common sense, especially, again, on our side in particular with the police, that we just went under contract. All this stuff was coming down the pipe anyway. There can be no reneging on commitments and promises that were made. It will be detrimental. And I'm not saying anyone has, but I don't think anyone should be trying to leverage fear of scaling back out public safety services to try to get anything passed. It's a core function of government. It needs to be funded. So that's it for this go round. We appreciate y'all tuning in.
Do us a favor, like this video, share it, comment on it so we can get some more views and get our message out there. I know a lot of you are supporters of the police department. We appreciate it. Share it with your friends. We want them to be supporters too.
Yeah. And if there's stuff that you want to hear about, by all means, let us know. Drop us a comment, send us a message, whatever. Let us know if there's something that you want to know more about or more info that we can get out there for you. But we appreciate y'all tuning in. Y'all stay safe, stay alert, stay tuned.